What if the blueprint for Montreal's trade deadline strategy was drawn up a month ago, and we're only now seeing the full picture? What happens when your perfect target becomes financially impossible, forcing you to find cheaper alternatives that fit the same profile? Welcome back, folks. It's Thursday, January 8th, 2026, and we need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture of what Kent Hughes has been planning. According to a report from Michael DeRosa dated December 9th, 2025, the Canadiens' hunt for a physical veteran center didn't just start this week. It's been going on for over a month, and the original target was Brayden Schenn, the captain of the St. Louis Blues. Now, that deal never happened. But understanding why Montreal was interested in Schenn and why the deal fell apart explains everything we're seeing right now with Blake Coleman, Kiefer, Sherwood, and the other names being floated around. Let me paint the picture of what Brayden Schenn represented for the Canadiens, because this is the exact profile Kent Hughes has been searching for. First, leadership. Schenn is the captain of the Blues. He's a veteran who knows how to lead, who knows how to set the tone in a locker room, who can mentor young players and show them what it takes to compete at the highest level. For a Canadiens team loaded with talent, but lacking that veteran presence down the middle, Schenn would have been perfect. Second, physicality. In 30 games, Schenn had already racked up 67 hits. That's over 2 hits per game. That a player who finishes checks, who protects his teammates, who makes opponents think twice before taking liberties with your skill players. Imagine having Schenn on the ice when teams try to rough up Cole Caulfield or Nick Suzuki. That's instant protection. Third, two-way reliability. Schenn isn't just a physical presence. He's a legitimate two-way center who can play in all situations. Power play, penalty kill, defensive zone face-offs, protecting a lead late in the third period. He's the kind of player coaches trust completely. That's the dream, right? That's exactly what Montreal needs. A physical veteran center with leadership qualities who can play a complete game and protect the young stars. So, why didn't it happen? Why are we talking about Blake Coleman and Kiefer Sherwood instead of celebrating the arrival of Brayden Schenn? The answer is simple, and it's the same answer that's complicated every big trade discussion in the salary cap era. Money. Schenn makes $6.5 million per year, and his contract runs to the end of the 2027-28 season. That's not just expensive, that's a long-term commitment to a player who's already 34 years old. By the time his contract expires, he'll be 37. And in those years, Montreal's young core is going to need new contracts. Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, Uri Slavkovsky, Lane Hudson, all of these guys are going to be looking for significant raises. If you commit $6.5 million to Schenn now, you're potentially handcuffing yourself when it comes time to pay your franchise players. That's a risk Kent Hughes clearly wasn't willing to take back in December, and it's a risk he's still not willing to take now. But here's what's fascinating. The profile hasn't changed. Hughes still wants exactly what Schenn would have brought. He just needs to find it at a cheaper price point. Enter Blake Coleman. $5.5 million cap hit. 1 more year on his contract after this season. He brings the physicality, the two-way play, the playoff experience. He's not the captain of his team, but he's got leadership qualities. He's basically a slightly cheaper, slightly younger version of what Schenn would have provided. Enter Kiefer Sherwood. Even cheaper, even more physical, but a rental with no long-term commitment. If you can't afford the $6.5 million version or even the $5.5 million version, maybe you go for the pure energy play that doesn't require a multi-year commitment. This is smart asset management from Kent Hughes. He identified the profile he needed back in December. He pursued the best option available. When the price didn't make sense, he didn't panic and overpay. Instead, he pivoted to alternatives that fit the same profile at a more manageable cost. And here's the kicker. The door might not be completely closed on Schenn. The report mentions that if St. Louis gets desperate and agrees to retain 50% of his salary, this rumor could come back to life. At $3.25 million, Schenn becomes much more palatable. At that price, the long-term commitment is less scary because you're not tying up as much cap space. But would the Blues retain that much salary? That's a huge ask. Retaining 50% means St. Louis is paying Schenn $3.25 million to play for another team. That's a massive financial hit that most organizations are reluctant to take unless they're truly desperate to move a player. Still, it's worth noting that the possibility exists. If the Blues continue to struggle, if they decide to fully commit to a rebuild, if they're willing to eat salary to accelerate their timeline, then Schenn could suddenly become a realistic option again. But for now, Hughes is focused on the alternatives. He's learned from the Schenn pursuit. He knows exactly what he needs. A physical veteran center who can protect the young stars and play a complete two-way game. Now he's just trying to find that player at a price that doesn't compromise the long-term flexibility of the organization. This is why Blake Coleman makes so much sense. He fits the profile perfectly, and while he's not cheap, he's cheaper than Schenn. He's younger than Schenn, and his contract situation is more manageable. This is why the Canadiens are casting a wide net, looking at multiple options. They're not married to one specific player. They're married to a profile, and they're willing to be patient until they find the right fit at the right price. The December pursuit of Brayden Schenn wasn't a failure. It was research. It was Kent Hughes and his staff identifying exactly what this team needs and then going out to find it. When the first option didn't work financially, they moved on to option 2, option 3, option 4. That's how you build a sustainable contender. You don't force deals that don't make sense just because you're impatient. You stay disciplined. You stick to your plan. You find alternatives that accomplish the same goal without compromising your long-term vision. So as we watch the Blake Coleman rumors heat up, as we hear about Kiefer, Sherwood, and Alex Tuch and all these other names, remember that this all started with Brayden Schenn. He was a prototype. He defined the search parameters. And even though he's not coming to Montreal right now, his profile is guiding every decision Kent Hughes makes. The strategy is clear. Find a physical veteran center who can protect the young stars, play a complete two-way game, and provide leadership. Find him at a price that doesn't handcuff the organization when it's time to pay the core. And don't force a deal just because you're feeling pressure. That's smart management. That's how you win in the salary cap era. And that's exactly what Kent Hughes is doing right now. What do you think, folks? Should Montreal revisit the Brayden Schenn option if St. Louis is willing to retain salary? Or is Blake Coleman the better target because of his age and contract situation? Would you rather see the Canadiens go all in on the veteran presence, even if it's expensive, or stick with a disciplined approach that prioritizes long-term flexibility? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button, because we're tracking every move, every rumor, and every decision as the Canadiens continue their search for the perfect addition to this roster.